Section 5.7.5 Provisional Goods Declaration. Provisional Goods Declaration may be allowed in order to facilitate trade and to prevent goods from being declared abandoned. The Bureau shall assign a specific code to identify that the goods declaration is provisional in nature upon lodgment. Goods declaration shall be considered full and complete insofar as supporting documents and information are concerned if the declarant does not indicate the provisional nature of such lodgment. Provisional Goods Declaration. It serves as a tentative or a temporary goods declaration just to avoid or to prevent the goods from being declared as a abandoned goods. But note that this process still requires the needed or required documents to be followed up within the given time. And these are the following circumstances to allow the lodgment of provisional goods declaration. First is when no regulatory permit, clearance, or license has been presented at the time of the lodgment, provided that the importer has timely filed his application to such permit, clearance, or license pursuant to the policy of the concerned regulatory agency. The second circumstance is the case of relief consignment. It simply means the importation of relief goods not subject to duties and taxes. The third and the fourth circumstance are when the TEI has not been issued, provided an application has already been filed at the time of lodgment, or any other situation where the declarant lacks certain information or document to make a complete goods declaration, provided it is not due to the declarant's negligence or fault. Since it said that it is already been filed at the time of the lodgment, it is not under the control of the declarants, or it is not the declarant's fault that he is lacking of this certain information. So now let's proceed to the lodgment of provisional goods declaration may be allowed provided the following documents presented. The first document is the pro forma invoice. Second one is duly endorsed BL or AWB, which is the bill of lading and the airway bill, or in the absence thereof, a written order by the carrier or agent of the vessel or aircraft. Advance copies of certificate of origin if applicable. And the last one, the duly notarized undertaking by the declarant that the other supporting documents required pursuant to this CAO shall be submitted within 45 days or 45 calendar days from the lodgment of provisional goods declaration, but with a valid reason and the approval of the collector of customs. It can also be extended to another 45 days. The request of the extension shall be acted upon within 7 working days. Otherwise, the request for extension shall be approved. Effect of Provisional Goods Declaration. If the collector of customs accept a provisional goods declaration, the duty and tax treatment of the goods shall not be different from that of goods with complete declaration. It simply means that either it is complete or it is a provisional goods declaration, the tax and the treatment of the goods shall remain untouched. Tentative assessment of duties, taxes, and other charges on goods covered by a provisional goods declaration shall be completed upon final readjustment and submission of declarant of the additional information or documentation required to complete the goods declaration within the 45 days or 45 calendar days from the lodgment of the provisional goods declaration, subject to extension period of another 45 days calendar for valid reasons. The conditional release of goods under provisional goods declaration shall be governed by the following rules. In case of regulated shipments, the conditional release of goods shall not be permitted unless the regulatory agency concerned allows such release subject to the following conditions. First one is, goods shall be delivered to the importer's premises for storage and shall not be disposed until required permit, clearance, or license is issued and submitted to the Bureau within the prescribed period. So once the goods arrive in the importer's premises, it shall stay there or it shall not be disposed until the required permit, clearance, or the license is issued and submitted to the Bureau within the prescribed period. Second one is a specific and sufficient security shall be required to cover the duties, taxes, and other charges of goods except in case of importer enrolled in any of the trade facilitation programs of the Bureau where a general security or an undertaking may be required in lieu of the security. In all other cases, the conditional release of goods provisionally declared shall be subject to the following rules. First one, a specific and sufficient security shall be required to cover the amount of duties and taxes and other charges that shall be collected when the lacking information or document is not submitted within the prescribed period. So the importer is required to submit a sufficient amount of security to cover the amount of duties and taxes and other charge and will be collected or shall be collected when the lacking information or document is not submitted within the prescribed period of time. Second one is, in case of highly compliant importer, such as those enrolled in any trade facilitation programs of the Bureau, or when the ground for provisional goods declaration does not affect the final computation of duties and taxes and other charges, no security shall be required for the conditional release of the goods. Effects of non-compliance with the condition for the release of goods under provisional goods declaration. In case the declarant fails to submit the required permit, clearance, or license from the regulatory agencies within the prescribed period, the regulated goods shall be subject to seizure provided due notice is given to the declarant. It says here, and as I mentioned earlier, that the declarant is required to submit permit, clearance, or license from the regulatory agency within the prescribed period, and if he fails to do so, the regulatory goods shall be subject to be seizure. In case of release under provisional goods declaration, due to the lack of import documents to assess the correct duties, taxes, and other charges, any security posted or undertaking submitted shall be subject to forfeiture for failure of declarant to submit the required supporting documents or information within the prescribed period, provided that due notice is given to the declarant and without prejudice to any other legal remedy to recover duties, taxes, and other charges that may be due on the importation. So now, let's proceed to the Section 5.7.6, Amendment of Goods Declaration by Declarant. A declarant may amend the goods declaration that has already been lodged, provided that the request to amend the goods declaration together with the intended amendments must be received prior to the final assessment or examination of the goods. So what does amendment means? Amendment simply means a change or slight change on something. So amendment or the change of goods declaration by the declarant shall require a request, and this request shall be submitted before the final assessment of the goods declaration. And the amendment of the goods declaration may be allowed based on the following grounds. The first one is inadvertent error or an unintentional error. Second one is amendment of EIFCM. And the last one is mistakes of omissions in good faith in the lodgement of the goods declaration without any fraudulent intent.